So you start off by hanging these frames onto your eggmobile frame, and I think eggmobile should be level at this point, and then all the frames should be level in relation to each other, so that will prevent a lot of problems down the road. The frames are all the same, so you don't have to worry about which one comes first in the order, but they should be oriented the same way. So this hanger flange should be on the same side as the next one. And then you connect them together with these long parts. And you should be careful about that because they are left and right parts. So this flat stock should be overextending to the outer side. And the first one you hold down with the screw and the nut here. So these are all M6 screws, and sometimes you're going to be using 30 millimeter screws and sometimes 40 millimeters. So this is the place where the 30 millimeter screw goes. And then we go to the other side, and there's a thread inside this pipe, inside this tube, and then you just put in the screw. So that's how we connect all of those pieces with no nuts, but the thread that's here inside.
And then we tighten it. We want to sort of just bring this two tubes together as much as possible. You don't have to go crazy on them, but so again, the screw, the flange, and then the next belt support. Bring them together.
And then the last joint is held down also by a screw, but here you have to put a little stack of 3 washers for M6 nuts.
I need screw M6 by 30, and I will need 3 washers here.
The next step is to attach those braces, these ones, and on the first and last point you can use 30 millimeter screw, and then here you have to use 40 millimeter screw because this is a little bit longer.
I like to use this IKEA magnet that just supports it temporarily, and then we put this here, and immediately I can put screws in those 2 holes, so it's already holding together.
So the next step is attaching those plastic belt guides, and they're connected with these M6 threaded rods, and you secure them with provided M6 nylock nuts, so it doesn't come off, it doesn't come loose. And don't over tighten those. It's not supposed to bring these 2 metal parts together. It's just here to prevent the threaded rod coming out.
So this is a little bit tricky. You have to look into the hole to get it out. Alright.
The next step is connecting those tilting mesh floors, and they're held down by these little M10 threaded rods. And so each one has to have 2 nuts that are holding it in place. So one nut goes over here and the other one goes over here, and then you add on a M10 nylock nut here, and the same thing is on the next one. So we have a normal nut here that is screwed in and holding it in place, and then we have nylock nuts that are not tightened down completely so that this can turn freely.
So we got a lot of those little threaded rods, M10. So what I'm gonna do is put a nut about halfway in, no, not halfway, less, much less, and then put it inside and put another nut on the other side. So the part of the threaded rod sticking out here should be almost the same as this one. It doesn't have to be perfect, but let's try to do it as close as possible. And then we can actually tighten the M10 nuts with a 17 wrench. And then we actually put a nylock nut onto here.
At this point you can assemble the belt start, so you have those pieces and the brackets holding them together, and for that you use 30mm screws with provided nuts. And once you have the mounts here, then you can slide on this assembly that I pre-assembled it for you. And we have the same situation here at the back of the Eggmobile, the same thing. And I think you should first cut the belt in the desired length, connect it together so you have kind of a loop, and then you just put it on here like this. So that's probably going to be the trickiest part of the whole assembly. And now you can start attaching those thin sheet metal pieces, and I call those the side plates, and you just attach them with two screws of 30mm with a nut under, and you just watch out because they're left and right pieces, so this is left and this is the right side, and you orient them in the same direction, but at the end you can turn them so the right one goes to that side and the left one goes to this side, so we don't have this flange sticking out in this direction.
So as we're mounting the side pieces, we should leave a little gap here, because that's where the next piece is gonna go.
So then we can mount those big thin sheet metal pieces and slide them in like this. And now you can start riveting those parts. So the first one goes like this, and these are 4mm holes. You have one here and one over here, and just hold them down with the rivets. And I would recommend that you drill one more hole somewhere around here and put one more rivet here, because it's just going to be more stable. I didn't know if that's going to be necessary, so I didn't do it, and I didn't know how to make it precise enough so that all those parts fit together, so it's easier that you just take a drill bit, 4mm drill bit, and drill a hole here and rivet it at these points, so here as well, and on each frame.
So what we have here is a little bit of a situation. So this rivet won't go in. So what is allowed in these kinds of situations is to have a drill of 4 mm and just lightly do this more smoothly. Yes.
When all of these are done, you can put on the little roofs and rivet them the same way. And so you should just be careful of orientation, because there's this little part that covers up this hole. So it's not completely symmetric, but it's made so that these hanger plates are sticking out. And then in the end, there are 4 holes here on the frame that are intended to connect the wire mesh piece that's going to close off all this area. And then at the end, what's left is to attach the nest mats with the zip ties, and we should discuss that if there's a better way to hold them down so it could be removed much more easier for cleaning. And of course the wood for the perches. I didn't provide you screws for those connection points because I didn't know what kind of wood are you going to be using. But I think you can use the same screws. I gave you an excess of screws, so I think you can use the same ones for this as well. And so that's it. And if you run into any kind of problems, please call me. I will be available, and we can troubleshoot if something doesn't work out.